Okay.
That's why we're adventurous here. We can find our own routes. And so does Jonathan make 8 or 7?
I'm counting again. I think he's 7. Oh shoot, it just made me lose my count. Wait a minute. 1.
Take your time.
Jonathan, how did you have to come in? Did you have to come in through Boardable?
7.
I used the link on Boardable. You got it.
Okay.
I did too. Steve
Right.
did too.
Thank you.
How about you, Adam? Did you use
I did as
Board-
well through Boardable, yes.
Okay. So the good news is that is the link that is posted on our website, which makes me feel better.
It's on the website, but we have to, as board members, go to the Boardable login. So
Yeah.
that's maybe just a extra minute for some people. Huh?
Yep.
Got it.
I was worried
We
about the
always have a
public
good
too.
door in.
I can get in through the calendar too.
Okay, good.
I did not
Because
try that
whatever's
route.
on the calendar, if it's got a join option, then I use it.
Yep.
Yeah, I just typed in the same comment, Melkaya. I do the same.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we at a solid 7,
We
Victoria?
are at 7, yes.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. So that's the sign to start the recording.
We are recording.
Excellent. And our next item is the pledge. Do we have a flag slide tonight? Excellent. Please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
of the
United
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, Victoria, who knew? Would you call the roll, please?
Yes, I will. Mrs. Summers.
Here.
Dr. Hans.
Here.
Thank you. Miss Newman.
Here.
Dr. Taub.
Here.
Mr. Lindemeyer. Mr. Torres. Mr. Landsman.
Yes.
Mr. Furman.
Here.
Miss Namie Dyer.
Here.
Dr. Guadalupe.
Here.
Mrs. Bernard. Mrs. Bernard? Thought I heard her voice a few minutes ago.
I think it might have been Rena.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So are we at 8?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. The next item is the approval of the agenda. We're operating from the revised agenda that Victoria sent out today. And the only difference between that agenda and the one we had for last week is that we have removed the item under other business, which was to be an update on the study session. And obviously we're using that date for our special board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as revised?
I'll make that motion.
That motion, Judy.
Okay, so I think we have Sarah and Adam.
I think it was Sarah and Malkaya, actually.
Oh, Melkaya, okay. Sarah made the motion,
I'll
seconded
second.
Melkaya. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Our next item is public comment. Christine, I understand we have some comment this evening.
We do. We have 2 public comments that were submitted via their website. I do want to let people know, if you are online and you would like to make public comment, if you could put that in the chat and you can unmute yourself at that time. The responses to public comment are made by our customer services team within the first month. So the first public comment is from Kim Reeb. She wrote, "My sister is developmentally disabled with cerebral palsy. She has attended New Gateways for 18 years now. Her social life is enhanced with all they offer. The companionship and camaraderie that she enjoys there enhance her inclusion of community involvement. It is critical this provider network remain whole. That being said, I urge that you please review absentee trends at vocational programs experiencing fallback from COVID-19, like New Gateways is experiencing. It is imperative that the cost reimbursement continues. Without New Gateways, Lonnie will lose her community outings. Her life will not be fulfilling and her spirit will dwindle. I thank you for your support, both past and hopefully in the future. Thank you so much, Kim Reeb. The second public comment is from Zach Cardinal. First, I want to thank the OCHN Board of Directors, leadership, staff, and fellow advocates who have continued to support the multitude of programs and direct support staff over the past 8 difficult months. The cost reimbursement model is scheduled to expire on the 31st of December this year. And as you know, the pandemic doesn't get tossed out with our 2020 calendars. The cost reimbursement model has been an absolute game changer for so many individuals supported throughout Oakland County by way of vocational programs. Over the past couple of months, we've seen vocational providers reopen their programs by completely overhauling safety measures, training, and day-to-day operations in order to provide vital services to people they serve. In truth, many of these programs wouldn't have been able to reopen their doors if it weren't for your efforts through the cost reimbursement model. But the sad reality is that it could all be for naught if the model isn't extended into 2021. The average COVID-19 absenteeism rate at vocational programs is 80%. I would argue that through the COVID-19 pandemic, the provider network is stronger than ever, which means services to those served grow stronger. Communication, use of technology, safety awareness, and thinking outside of the box is at an all-time high amongst programs. That only continues with the extension of the cost reimbursement model. I ask that the OCHN Board of Directors review COVID-19 related absenteeism among vocational providers and extend the cost reimbursement model until March 31st, 2020, with another review of absenteeism during the OCHN board meeting in January. You as board members, OCHN staff, vocational program leaders, individuals served, families, and advocates have worked far too hard to let the model expire, and with it so many programs that have been vital to rebuilding some sort of normalcy in the lives of those served. Thank you for your time and all the best, Zach. Those were our only 2.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess we could ask if there's anybody present who wanted to make public comment at this time. We have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. I'm going to take that as a no for now, and we'll move on to a motion to accept and approve the items in the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move, Steve.
Thank
This
you,
is Jonathan.
Steve.
I'll second.
Seconded by Jonathan. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to our next item on the agenda, which is stories that inspire hope. Tricia and guest.
Good evening. Tricia Zizembo, I'm the training director here at OCHN, and I am excited to introduce our speaker for tonight, who is Erin O'Donovan, and I believe she's going to be there with her mom, Julie O'Donovan. I met Erin last year briefly when she was a 2019 graduate of our Speechcraft program. So I am going to turn it over to Erin, and I'm going to spotlight her so you guys can see her.
And I like dog mom.
Take it away, Erin.
Okay. All right. Hello. My name is Erin O'Donovan. I am 23 years old. I live with my mom and dad in Troy. I have 2 older brothers. Danny is 26 and Tommy is 25. Tommy lives with us along with his dog Louie. They are great brothers. Most of my activities are held due to the virus. Most of my activities are on hold due to the virus. I try to do as much as possible online. I go to school online. I also take cooking, dance, and fitness classes online. Before the virus, I was very busy. For my education, I went to Toy Center for transition. I was learning how to be independent. I worked at a job site with my job coach. I worked on life skills and other things I need to know. I need to know to be independent. On Friday, we had a fun activity. I enjoy being a student. I did a lot of volunteer work. Last summer, I worked at CBS with MRS support. I also worked with my CLS staff. I also did a lot of advocacy work. I am an ambassador for Special Olympics and for Best Buddies. I went to classes and dancing and have met with our state senator and a representative. My favorite thing to do is to entertain. I love to act, sing, and dance. My other favorite thing to do is to hang out with my friends. I also like to swim. I swim with Special Olympics. I love to ride a tandem with my mom. I am in charge of picking out all the songs while we ride. For my goals in life, I would like to live in an apartment with my friends. I would like to get a job and to work. I will continue to volunteer and to be a self-advocate. And of course, I will always entertain.
Nice job, Erin. Hello, my name is Julie O'Donovan. My husband Patrick and I are parents to 3 children. We have 2 boys, 26 and 25, and then our crescendo Erin. First of all, I would like to thank you all for being here tonight. I am so impressed by you. You're the ones who have chosen to devote your career to helping people with disabilities reach their potential. And the choice you have made the difference in the lives of so many. I must admit, we did not make the choice for people with disabilities to play such an important role in our life. When we learned Erin was Erin, it was scary. We did not know what to expect and did not feel qualified to raise a child with a disability. But it was professionals like yourself that gave us the support and the knowledge we needed to realize that, hey, we got this. We are qualified. And the last 23 years have been an amazing ride. Seems almost funny that we were concerned when we found out Erin was Erin that boys would have a challenge having a sister with a disability. But Erin has been the best gift they could have ever received. They have been showered by her love, and she has added fun and humor and meaning each day, to every day. In fact, Erin has been a gift to she's been a gift to our entire family. She is our glue. She's also our inspiration. We see her work so hard for her achievements, and we celebrate every success with her. Now, each phase is scary, and the thought of her completing the post-secondary program at school, it's petrifying. She has her dreams and her goals, and she wants to be as independent as possible, and we want to support her all she can as a family. And we know we're going to need the support of professionals like yourself too. And we're all grateful for what you do to help people like Erin fulfill their dreams and reach their potential. Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any questions? Erin, are you willing to take some questions if somebody has one?
Sure.
Okay, great. Does anybody have a question for Erin or her mom? Well, I always do, so I'll start. I'm a mom too. I experienced a similar learning curve and worth the journey 100-fold. Absolutely worth the journey. I wondered, Erin, in terms of learning online, has that been hard? When you can't be with people, having to do it using the computer instead of being in the same place with other people?
Yes.
I bet it has. It's been hard for me to learn how to do a meeting, so I can only imagine that it must have been kind of challenging, especially since the thing you like to do so much is entertain. It's much more fun when there's people in the same place who can, be there to appreciate what you do and for you to respond to them. Are there other questions for Erin?
Not so much a question, Judy, just a comment. I want to thank you, Erin, and your mom, Julie, for coming to share with us tonight. And I think that you are just amazing. Even before you said in your speech that you were an entertainer, I could just see it shining through. You're a shining star, and I just can't imagine you not being able to make your goals because it's in you and it's going to come out. And there's so many more opportunities for people with challenges these days, and movies and TV and all kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if not too far down the road, I turned on my TV and saw your beautiful face. So thank you so much. And thank you, Julie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for all you do.
I think that maybe this might be a silver lining. Learning to use the computer might be another way to express your talents too. So maybe that's something we wouldn't have looked at before, but now maybe it's a way to reach more people farther away even than we might have thought than just in the same space. So other questions or comments for Erin or her mom, Julie?
Can I speak? I'm sorry, I'm not seeing a hand here to raise my hand. My name is Drita, and I was wondering what kind of things you've done that have helped you in your independence, or what kind of things you've done lately.
Let me take a minute and think for a second and get your answer together. I just want to say that this dialogue is intended for board members only.
I apologize.
No problem, but it's a good question. So, Erin, if you'd like to respond.
I would like to know the question.
Yeah, I can what I think that Erin finds really helpful was that she likes to work. And the support that she's got to be on a job site has been very helpful through either through the Troy Center for Transition or through the supported employment that she did through the pre-MRS program when you went to CVS.
Yes.
And through her CLS worker, where she's done some work that she really enjoys being at work. She likes that, and with the support that she needs has been very successful.
That's great. Any other questions or comments? I guess everybody's a little bit shy tonight.
Erin, I'd just like to say that it's especially during this time of online learning and isolation, it's very encouraging to hear you so positive about your online experiences as well. So that's great, and thank you so much for sharing tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? I'm guessing that your presentation was so good that everybody got their questions answered.
Yep.
So we thank you for that, and we appreciate your generosity in sharing your story. It really did inspire us. Thanks so much. And Mom too, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is our election of officers. Tonight we'll be electing our chair, vice chair, and secretary, as well as choosing our committee assignments and determining who will chair and be vice chair for the standing committees as well. If there are two people interested in any position, I think what we will do is what we've done in the past and have each of them present what they think their qualifications are so that the decision can be made with a little bit more background and information. So with that, if you have any questions before I proceed, please let me know. And if there are no questions, we will open the nominations for board chair.
Judy, this is Steve.
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Jonathan Lensman, board chair.
Okay. Is there a second for Jonathan's nomination?
Second, Adam.
All right. Jonathan, do you accept that nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Judy,
Yes.
I would like to nominate myself as board chair.
All right, thank you, Melchiah. Is there a second for Melchiah's nomination? A second for Melchiah's nomination. I'll ask one more time. Is there a second for Melchiah's nomination as board chair? Unfortunately, Melchiah, your nomination has not been supported.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other nominations for board chair? I will ask once more, are there any other nominations for board chair? Hearing none, we have Jonathan Lansman, who has been nominated by Steve Taub and is seconded by Adam Furman. Victoria, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, and I'm going to call those that didn't answer the attendance, just in case they showed up.
That's fine.
Mrs. Bernard? Dr. Guadalupe?
Yes.
Miss Namie Dyer?
I'm sorry, I lost connection. What where are we at? I apologize.
I'll go back to it, Victoria. Rena, Steve Taub nominated Jonathan Landsman, seconded by Adam Furman as board chair. Jonathan accepted the nomination, and now we are calling the roll to see if there is agreement for Jonathan to proceed as board chair. So
Okay,
that's what
thank
your
you.
question is.
Okay, yes.
Judy, it's Sarah.
Yes.
Should we make sure that Rena didn't want to second the person, Melchiah's self-nomination? I don't know if Rena heard that part, just to make sure.
What did you hear, Rena?
Yes, I think I got caught off right after that. So
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure so that we were all on the same page.
thank you. I appreciate it.
So we have a yes vote for you then?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Furman,
Yes.
Mr. Landsman,
Yes.
Mr. Therese, Mr. Lindemeyer,
Yes.
Dr. Taub,
Yes.
Ms. Newman,
No.
Dr. Hans, Dr. Hans? She may have slipped away. Mrs. Summers?
Yes. Do you want to try Dr. Hans one more time, though?
Yes, Dr. Hans. Are you with us? Well, even still, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 votes.
We need
Yeah.
6. We need 6. That's our majority. So, well, congratulations, Jonathan. At this point, I will turn the meeting over to you and say to you all that it has been really my privilege to be your chair for the last 2 years, and looking forward to seeing how things proceed under Jonathan's guidance. So, Jonathan, with that, your turn.
All right, thank you. And thank you to the board and your support of me in this role. I hope you will grant me some leniency, as this is the first time I've chaired this organization. So I don't have the experience that either Judy has had or even Melchiah had. So, but my game plan is to provide an environment where it is fair and open, and help us to evolve not our board, but the organization overall within the mental health code. So that's my goal, and to do it with the style that you guys have before me have taken us. So with that in mind, the next role is for vice chair. And I'm looking or entertaining any nominations for the role of vice chairman.
This is Steve. I'd like
Yes.
to nominate Dr. Guadalupe for vice chair.
Thank you. Is there a second for Dr. Guadalupe for vice chair?
I second that, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
May I suggest you ask Dr. Guadalupe if she accepts that nomination?
Yes, thank you. Sarah, Dr. Guadalupe, Sarah, do you accept this nomination for vice chair?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Other nominations? Not hearing any. I'll close the nomination process. All those, and I think I guess we need a roll call vote, Sheila, for this nomination.
Victoria.
Yes.
Oh, Victoria, sorry.
That's quite all right.
I am so used to Sheila
I
on these
know.
calls.
That's okay. All right then, Mrs. Summers,
Yes.
Dr. Hans, Ms. Newman,
Yes.
Dr. Taub,
Yes.
Mr. Lindemeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Therese, Mr. Landsman,
Yes.
Mr. Furman,
Yes.
Ms. Namie Dyer, Dr. Guadalupe,
Yes.
Mrs. Bernard. All right. We have 8 votes for yes.
Very well. Welcome aboard, Sarah, as vice chair.
Thank you.
The next role that we have of the executive committee is for secretary. Are there any nominations for secretary for the board? I will tell you, having been secretary, it is not as imposing or overwhelming as it may sound.
Jonathan, could you share, it's Sarah, could you share some of the duties? I know we did it in the last meeting, but just so that
Okay.
maybe someone might spark interest.
So unofficially, I can tell you, because I don't have the description in front of me, when we meet in person, we typically, as a secretary, I review the minutes that have transpired and been approved by the board, and then I sign the document that says I approve that. As well, when we go into closed session, if we don't have Victoria or Sheila there, then I take notes for the closed session. But as most of you know from being in a closed session, we are limited as to what we document in those minutes and keep it purely to those that are there from an attendance and what was the topic covered and not the content or substance because it is a closed session. So the load is pretty light. It is almost ceremonial, and since we've been meeting virtually, it seems to be incredibly ceremonial.
Could I nominate Adam, please?
Yeah, yes, you may. Is there a second?
Steve here. I second that.
Adam, are you in acceptance of this nomination?
I'm concerned about my physical ability to perform the role. Specifically taking notes within a closed session. So I would not accept the nomination, unfortunately.
Okay, I understand. So, yes, Eric.
Is it possible that we can have some sort of assistance of software or something that would allow Adam to be able to perform the job despite his concerns?
It is possible, and as I've said, we've had someone from administration be there in the meetings to assist in note taking in the past. The only time we haven't had that was when we were dealing with an office. Let's see, when we were dealing with our CEOs. I'm trying to think of the right term. The analysis of the review when we were in closed session like that.
I just hate to have anything stand in his way from being able to provide him the support to do everything that because he's a valuable member of the team, and I would hate Adam not to be able to participate in any way that he wants to.
Oh, and I don't feel excluded in any way or anything like that, but thank you very much for the concern.
Judy, you raised your hand?
Yes, I did. Adam, the opportunity to get support for taking the minutes in closed session is readily available. Typically, and I think Jonathan can affirm, that you're basically responsible for providing a summary, and it's often been just 2 sentences. It isn't, you don't have to track the conversation, nor should you.
Okay.
So if that is something that you might want to consider when you make your final decision, I would appreciate you giving it some additional thought, because I think that you would be really a huge asset as our secretary.
I will accept the nomination.
Thank you. I was about to try a little bit more persuasive move. not arm twisting, but if this board elections topic was closed session, we would say we had a closed session. The topic was board elections.
Okay.
That's all it covers. When
Okay.
it started, the date and time, when it ended.
I'm fine with that then. I gleefully accept the nomination.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll close the nomination for secretary. And we'll take a roll call vote.
All right, let's try
Please,
Mrs. Bernard again. Mrs. Bernard there? Dr. Guadalupe?
Yes.
Miss Mamie Dyer?
Yes.
Adam Furman?
Yes.
Mr. Landsman?
Yes.
Mr. Therese here yet? All right, Mr. Lindemeyer?
Yes.
Dr. Taub?
Yes.
Miss Newman?
Yes.
Dr. Hans? Mrs. Summers?
Yes.
So there's 8 yeses.
Thank you. And Adam, welcome to the executive board.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. The two remaining areas are business operations and policy committees. So I will start with business operations only because it's alphabetical. And is there a nomination from the floor for chair of the business operations committee? Yes, Judy.
I think if people first chose which committee they preferred to be on, and then we went to choosing from that group.
Thank you. Yes, because we vote from within the group.
Correct. And it's not, it's more of an affirmation than an election. So,
okay.
All good. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate the help. I really do. All right. And I see hands up for Eric up and for Judy.
Let me lower mine. Have I lowered?
Yours is lowered.
Okay, great. So
Eric?
if you want to just ask who would like to be, there are 5 members on business ops, 6 on policy. We don't have as many members present as to exclude almost anyone, so.
Correct. So who would like to be on the business ops committee?
We could call the roll and maybe people could
express their preference.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you. Good idea. Please,
All
Victoria.
Right. I don't think Mrs. Bernard is here, so we'll skip that one over. Dr. Guadalupe?
Policy.
Policy. Miss Mamie Dyer?
Policy.
All right. Mr. Furman?
Policy if possible.
Mr. Landsman? Well,
I'm on both, I believe.
yes, you are.
You're ex officio on both, correct.
Okay.
Is Mr. Torres here? All right, Mr. Lindemeyer?
Business ops.
All right, Dr. Taub?
Policy, please.
Miss Newman?
Business ops.
Dr. Hans? Mrs. Summers?
I'll choose business ops.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 on business ops, and right now policy, and right now we've got 2 on business ops.
I think 3.
Mm.
Miss Newman, Mr. Lindemeyer, and myself.
Yes.
Oh, you said business. I'm sorry. That's correct. 3 on business.
I will actually switch over to business apps to give somebody else another opportunity for policy if they'd like. So.
Well, there are more than enough spots for either one, so it's really your preference, Adam.
I think I will switch over to business apps, please.
Okay.
So would you like me to read that list of who's on each?
I think I have it. I have
Okay.
Adam Furman, I have Eric Lindenmeyer, I have Malkia Newman, and I have Judy Summers on business ops.
Mm-hmm. That's
Okay.
correct.
All right. Who would like to make, I guess, a nomination? Who would like to nominate to be chair of the business ops?
It's my hand up,
Judy?
Jonathan.
Yes, it just did. Yes. Judy.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know there's a bit of a lag. I would nominate Mr. Lindemeyer as chair of business ops.
I would accept only if Malkia is not interested.
I defer.
Then I accept.
Okay. Are there any others of those that are here? Do we need a second for these?
Yeah.
Or not? Okay.
I second Mr. Lindemeyer.
Okay. Thank you. What about vice chair of the committee? Malkia, would you consider vice chair of business ops?
I'll accept.
Thank you. I don't think we need a simple yay or nay vote for this. I think that's probably enough, right, Judy?
Actually, like I said, it's an affirmation rather than an election. And if there's no other interest, I think we're firm with chair and vice chair if there's no other interest.
Is there any further interest? Judy, would you be interested?
No, thank you.
All right. Adam?
No, thank you.
Okay. Well, there's our 4. All right. Thank you. And Eric, welcome as chair. Malkia, welcome as vice chair.
Thank you.
Now for policy. So on policy, we have Sarah, Rena, and we have Steve tonight. Correct? Would someone volunteer to be the chair of the policy committee? Would someone care to volunteer someone or nominate them as chair?
I can continue to do it. I just wanted to make sure no one else wanted, but I don't know now that can you have a dual role? I'm not sure. Rena or Steve, are you interested in the position?
I think we've had in the past where we've had a vice chair who is also either a vice chair of the overall board and of the committee, or vice chair and then chair of a committee. So it's doable.
So if Steve or Rena don't want it, then I will, but I would like them to have the opportunity if they want it, but I didn't hear anyone speak up, so.
Rena, would you consider it?
I think I would probably consider vice chair over chair, just so that I could get a little more experience before taking that on.
Okay. Steve, do you have any preferences?
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right. Well, it sounds like we have our chair and vice chair of policy then. Sarah?
Steve said no preference, or you didn't want to do it?
Yeah, I really don't want to do it because I don't know whether I'll be reappointed. It depends on the election next Tuesday.
That makes sense. Okay. All right.
Jonathan, it's Judy, I'm intruding. I just want to say to Sarah that I spent more than a few years back in the day as vice chair of the board and as chair of policy. So there is precedent for that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think we've covered the board board roles and committee roles. Are there any other questions or comment made for board elections? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the financial review. Anya, if you would please.
Good evening. Sorry about that. I was eating my dinner while you all were doing that. I apologize. Okay, so August financials. If you want to go ahead and advance to the next slide. So you can see the August revenue is up. Again, continuing that trend we have been seeing with increased eligibles in fiscal year 20. You can see those couple of spikes in both June and September, and what those are the direct care wage enhancements that we have been receiving. I'm sorry, it's April, June, and September from the department for those adjustments. So we continue to see revenue above the budgeted amounts, and the budgeted amounts you'll see in this month's presentation are budget amendment 1 still. So they do look a little off just because revenue is a little higher than in budget amendment 2 than we had in 1. So we'll make those adjustments for the September presentation. But you can see we are over budget on it from a revenue perspective and doing well on that end. So moving on to the next slide. This one just speaks to eligibles because that is really what's driving the revenue trend outside of the direct care wage enhancement that we received. So as you can see, that's gone up quite a bit, and it's really primarily the DAB population, which is driving the significant increase in revenue, and Healthy Michigan. I believe the last time I looked at Healthy Michigan, they were at, the eligible people were at roughly 62,000, and so that's higher than it ever was even when the program started. So it's definitely taking off and has continued to increase. And I believe DAB population we're at about 44,000 per month. So that's again very high compared to the last few fiscal years. So has given us some additional revenue. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So assets. So this one compares the end of last fiscal year to where we are today, and you can see our assets, cash and investments is up significantly for the reasons I just mentioned. Receivables is down a bit. So that's where we would expect to be at this time in the fiscal year. You're going to see those start to go up as we start to close out fiscal year 20 because we'll do any outstanding accruals and things like that. So expect to see those go up a bit. Other assets is slightly down. And then capital assets, which are more long-term assets, is slightly down from last fiscal year, but that's again just depreciation. And so that's expected to continually go down on a monthly basis. So moving to the next slide, liabilities. So what you can see is vendor liabilities are down significantly from the end of last fiscal year as well. Again, that's normal for the end of the fiscal year to have them much higher. Again, accruals of what we owe out, whereas right now we're just keeping up to date, and then you'll start to see that pick up as well at the end of the fiscal year because we will start to accrue anything that has not been paid. Due to state is down just slightly, so that's typically just the fluctuation between state facilities and some of our regularly occurring state payments that we have to make that are actually made on more of a quarterly basis as opposed to on a monthly basis. Employee payables is up just slightly, not much. And then long-term debt, which is the Resource and Crisis Center specifically, is down just slightly, again, because of depreciation. Moving on. So where that puts us from a net position perspective, compared to the end of last fiscal year, we're doing better. So total assets is up just about $7 million. Liabilities is down to 28 million as opposed to the 35, which is where we were at the end of the fiscal year. So you can see net position is in a much better position than last fiscal year. As you guys know, the last 2 fiscal years were planned deficit years. So we're starting to move in that other direction and starting to have some excess in funding and things like that. So all is good as of right now, and we expect that to continue into fiscal year 21. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is specific fund source revenue. So you can see compared to this time last year. So this one compares the same period from last year. So you can see that our Medicaid revenue is up. Again, that does have not only something to do with the eligible accounts, but also to do with those the $2 direct care wage increases because those are coming through as Medicaid. Our general fund is slightly down, which is consistent with the reallocation that we've been going through for the last couple of years of general fund. County fund stays consistent as it always has. And then all other is slightly down because that it includes some things like grants and other revenue. Moving on to expenses, you can see our administrative expenses are down, and that's primarily due to a reallocation of how we changed some things around. It really hasn't changed that much. It's just how it's hitting our financials when we restructured financials starting at the beginning of the fiscal year. Provider network expenses are up, but that would be expected with the $2 enhancement as well as increased demand. And increased expenses, not only during COVID, but also just this fiscal year, we've seen our hospital expenses go up. And just to touch back real quick on the earlier comments. So we, as you all know, we've been doing cost reimbursed for all of our providers through the pandemic. And it is the intent to continue that until we feel the system is stable enough to move away from that. Some providers did request to go back, and that was very specifically the adults with mental illness and the adults with intellectual and developmental disability providers. So we made those decisions jointly with them. So we don't have any intent to end it at any particular date. It's more of a review on a quarterly basis. So just to clarify that particular perspective, it's just a review on a quarterly basis. Our goal is to keep the network stable. So for us right now, for a lot of providers, that means continuing with cost reimbursed contracts. Moving on to grants over there. Oh, can you go back one slide? I wasn't quite done. Grants is down, but that's due to the expiration of some of our grants and some of the timing just getting towards year end. And then all other is roughly flat compared to last year. Now, can you move on? Thank you. So net income, total revenue is up quite a bit. Total expenses is roughly flat from last fiscal year at this time. Just a couple of things offsetting. So as you can see, at this time last year, we had a loss of just under 14 million, whereas right now we're showing net income of 14.6 million through August. And I believe that should be it. And I can take any questions. This is the same chart you see every month of providers and what we've been paying them through August. You can go ahead and forward through those slides. Oh, you can continue. Okay, so I lost my question slide, it looks like, but I can take any questions if anybody has them.
Are there any questions for Anya? I have, hearing none, I have one question for you. One of your early slides on revenue was about the DAP population being up. And I know, so my question to you is, you know, we get revenues for Healthy Michigan, for DAP population, for TANFs. But the DAB one is a good one, right? Because it's more long-term versus the TANFs temporaries? Well, yes. So once somebody becomes eligible for the DAB category, which is disabled, aged, and blind, that's typically a year long. You're eligible for a year.
And so the redetermination wouldn't be done for an additional year. So that one, yes, is more consistent and of course more money as well. That's our highest payment, upwards of just over $300 per person per month. So it is our largest Medicaid fee screen. So it is the one we watch the closest just because it has such an impact on our budget.
Okay. And in years past, we had the issue of high numbers of enrollees in TANF when they really belonged in DAB or in Healthy Michigan.
Yeah, it was primarily people in Healthy Michigan that really should have been eligible for the DAB payment. So we have been working and with providers to get people moved over and get redeterminations done and to get people moved over to the DAB population.
Thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Anya? All right. Thank you, Anya. I guess we'll let you go back and eat dinner.
Yeah, I'm done now. Thanks.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the Recipient Rights Committee, and Vicki Suter is presenting on that topic.
Thank you for the opportunity to present. I want to present 3 individuals that the Recipient Rights Advisory Committee did interview at their October meeting, and they did find all 3 candidates acceptable for recommendation. Our first candidate is Joshua Black. Joshua has been doing peer support services for the last couple years. He is an individual that has lived experience, and he also has past experience running a housing provider, as well as has a graduate degree in behavioral health. He also talked about the importance of person-centered planning, which really made me light up because I just know how important person-centered planning is. And we really think that his experiences will be a great asset to the Recipient Rights Advisory Committee. Our second candidate is Harriet Cooper. We also interviewed her. She is the mother and a sister of individuals that are served. She has experience related to individuals with an intellectual or developmental disability. She has extensive experience in protecting and advocating for individuals. She recently went through the process of filing a rights complaint as well as the appeal process, so that was a good experience for her and a good experience that she will bring to the committee. We really did appreciate her passion and experience that she expressed through her interview and think that she would be a great candidate, a great member for the Recipient Rights Advisory Committee. And then we have Jarita Orsini, who we also interviewed. She's an individual that would represent us with lived experience. She's passionate about various groups in her community, including law enforcement and hospital staff being educated about mental illness and reducing stigma. We know that that's an ongoing issue, and the more education and advocacy we can get related to that, the better. She also has a bachelor's degree from Madonna University in interdisciplinary studies, and we also think that her passion and experience would be a great asset to our committee. We currently have 5 vacancies, so there's 3 candidates. That would leave us 2 vacancies. We do have another interview scheduled for our November meeting. I believe Dorita is with us tonight. I think she's the only candidate that was able to make it tonight. So she is with us. So I present our 3 candidates to the board and ask that they approve them for the Recipient Rights Advisory Committee.
All right, thank you, Vicki. Melkaya, you have a question.
Yes, I have a question. I work at CNS, and I wanted to know, would it be inappropriate for me to vote for Mr. Black, seeing as how I work with him and know him? I'm willing to abstain if that's the case. I just need guidance in that regard.
I don't think you need to abstain. It's not a financial decision that's being made, and I don't think it's a policy one either. I'm not an attorney, but I would say that, you know, your input, your vote is always welcome.
Judy, did you have any further comment on that?
My opinion is similar to Jonathan's. I think since this doesn't impact either our policy or budget, that your support would be appropriate.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve Mr. Black, Miss Cooper, and Miss Orsini?
I make a motion. This is Eric.
Thank you,
To
Eric.
accept the recommendations.
And I second that, that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Is there any discussion on the nominees? All right. Do we need to make this a roll call vote, or?
Are you asking me?
I am. I'm asking your guidance, Judy.
Okay. Typically not, but in the virtual realm, a roll call vote does document attendance as well as choice. So just for the sake of having that on record, I think it would be okay to go with a roll call.
All right, just to dot I's and cross T's.
Exactly that.
All right, thank you. Victoria, would you mind, please?
Absolutely. Mrs. Summers,
Yes.
Dr. Hans, Miss Newman.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Taub,
Yes.
Mr. Lindemeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Landsman,
Yes.
Mr. Furman,
Yes.
Miss Mamie Dyer,
Yes.
Dr. Guadalupe,
Yes.
and Mrs. Bernard, are you here? Okay, that should do it for us.
All right, thank you.
Thank
So the motion passes, and welcome to the RRAC.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the strategic planning, and that's going to be presented by our CEO and our COO, Dana and Dr. Nicole.
Good evening, everybody. It's very nice. Uh-oh, I'm having camera issues. Sorry about that. Let's do this. Okay, so good evening, everybody. Nicole and I are going to review the strategic plan, and in your board, in Boardable, there was a document, and the subject is strategic planning. And the purpose of us really going over the strategic plan again is really, we know the strategic plan operates for 3 years, and it's to guide and shape the organization. The current strategic plan actually expires in September 30, 2021. Nicole and I have recommendations as to how we want to move forward with the strategic plan and actually extend that date. Due to COVID, due to our newness to the organization, we will go through the presentation, but also that was one of our recommendations we would like to make and have accepted by this board. So with that, Nicole, if you want to go through the information, please.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Can we go to the next slide, please? So as Dana mentioned, I had mentioned through annual planning development as well, that we do strategic planning traditionally in 3-year cycles. And this is the final year of the current approved strategic plan. Next slide. So traditionally, also our approach to strategic planning has really been to take the time to review every aspect of our organization and really kind of ponder the future and pick our operations apart and pick our goals apart to make sure that we're really living our mission, vision, and values. And so what we review in strategic planning is everything from our mission statement, our vision statement, our written and stated values, as well as all of the services that we deliver, the programs that we have to support people, and then how we use our resources to achieve those goals over the course of those 3 years. So if we look at the next slide, our strategic plans are really geared then towards the goals and objectives that, when achieved, should improve performance, inspire forward thinking. So where do we want to be in the next 3 years? Solve major challenges, continue to cultivate teamwork, and capitalize on the expertise in both our organization as well as in our provider network and throughout our entire community. So we want to make sure that we're influencing a system rather than being influenced by the system, and strategic planning is a critical part of that. Next slide. And our strategic planning process is to do an even more in-depth environmental scan than what we do with our annual planning process. We try to be really aware of the various forces of change that we're likely to face over the course of the next 3 years, and then predict the impact that those will have on us. Things like funding, waiver changes, changes that different government and administrations and different elected officials might implement depending on what's important to them. And in addition, we try to get as much input and feedback as we possibly can from the people we support, their loved ones, our providers, our community as a whole, to really make sure we follow our nothing about me without me value. That typically includes face-to-face meetings at clubhouses, drop-in centers, all of our different advisory and planning groups. We sit with each team internally at OCHN, our providers, we host town halls, we sit with the board, we meet with MDHHS as our funders, we meet with our local and state legislators, and essentially prevail ourselves upon anybody else who has a stake in our system to sit with us and talk through what types of changes we should be anticipating or planning for, and what their vision and their goals are for the system. And that is the most vital aspect of our work in strategic planning. It takes a lot of time to really do it well. And our current environment and COVID's really challenged that a great deal. And so to that end, Dana and I have some of those recommendations. And Dana, I think you're going to review those recommendations. You're on mute.
Thank you, Nicole. Next, okay, we're on the right slide. So we're seeking approval today to extend a strategic plan for 1 year due to, like Nicole said, the challenges of really engaging people in a meaningful way during the pandemic. And we know everybody is adjusted, and their adjustment has been at different levels to this virtual and service environment. So we want to make sure that we are doing it the right way and really hearing from the community and the people that we serve. This will also allow me as a new CEO to fully evaluate the current system and plan. The wonderful thing about all that is that we're able to get in on some of the things that are changing very quickly with the state. We know they're seeking us out for a lot of activities and pilots and things of that nature, and even our recommendations on how things should move forward. So in extending the strategic plan, it will allow us to implement and integrate some of that finding into our coming years of the strategic plan. So in order to engage in a full strategic planning process beginning October 2021, the fiscal year 2020, we want to cover in our next plan fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, and fiscal year 25. So we would use this time, this additional time, to actually do those assessments and bring to you a new strategic plan next year. Next slide, please. I think that's it. Are there any questions you have for me or Nicole?
Yes, Judy.
I just wondered if you're still going to continue to find innovative ways to reach out to the people that we serve and those who support them in whatever capacity that might be. I know we made great strides with the annual plan, but I think there's always room to grow. So I'm hoping that there will be continued effort to dig deeper into the community, because the strategic plan has quite the reach.
Yes. And also, Judy, I wholeheartedly agree with you. One of the things that we're looking at even now is to look at the certified community behavioral health clinics, which we have 2 providers that are engaged in those services now, as well as the behavioral health home initiative brought to us from the state. There's another pilot on the way in terms of us working with the statewide crisis response system, I want to call it. It's a statewide system. So they also asked us to participate in that. And so there are a lot of activities that are going on, and we know a lot of that will depend on the outcomes of the election. And so even when we're working with the state and looking at practices to roll out, a lot of things are sort of suspended until we know the election results and how that changes who's in the seat. So we are continuing to look at ways to improve services. And then the other thing it also does is we know by looking at the data that we were looking better as it relates to COVID, but we know, like Diana said earlier, that we had a 7% increase in COVID positive cases and deaths in Oakland County. So we don't want to force opening and put people in situations where they are at risk of contracting this disease. And so doing that, we do have to come up with better ways to communicate and engage the people we serve. And I think we're all getting a little used to this virtual environment, but we are going to look at other ways that we can support the individuals we serve and the providers. The other thing that we maybe haven't talked about a great deal, we did get some CARES funding that would allow us to give out iPads to 1,000 people. So we're doing those kind of things, and we will bring you the outcomes. And as you will see from my report later on, you'll see where we're implementing, we're looking at the data, we're seeing where we're at and where we need to make improvements. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, in fact. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there other questions from board members on this topic? Dana and Nicole, yes. I know that I'm actually a fan of the delay only because the state has delayed their redesign effort. And yes. I know that that's going to continue to, once they get used to COVID, they're going to turn their attention back to that. And I was concerned this year that we were going to go through a strategic plan and not know what that impact of their redesign would be. So I'm actually glad that we're holding off for a year.
And thank you. And Jonathan, just to add on to what you're saying, you're absolutely right. We just got a new executive order from actually MDHHS talking about COVID testing requirements for individuals that live in residential settings, large residential settings, or what they refer to as AFC homes, and then also staff being tested, and even guests of people who live in residential settings being tested as well. So those are the type of things that we're getting hit with quite quickly. And so there's a really quick turnaround. So within a month, we have to have our residential providers compliant with that new order. So we're still working, moving forward and implementing new programs as we keep up with the changes that COVID requires us to respond to.
And I suspect we may have to go to the point of reporting out numbers much the way the state collects stats and reports out on school districts.
Absolutely.
And nursing homes. Not that we're like either one of those, but there are similarities because of our organization and our the folks that we serve.
And you're right on target, because just today we had our PHP CEO COVID-19 meeting, and that was one of the things that Alan Jansen brought up was dashboards and how we report regionally and statewide data under MDHHS, the people we serve and how it's impacting the lives of the people we serve.
So it is coming.
Yes.
And so I'll say it this way, and please don't anyone take this politically. It is an unfunded requirement that we are going to have to do to face this and report it out. We have a lot of those already that we do.
Yes.
And I think it's just going to grow because of the complexity. On the other hand, I think it's important that we do have that transparency to let people know how well a job we are doing to control what we control under COVID. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I didn't see it, but I wondered, is this an action item that we have to take up right now to vote to extend a year? Judy, I wasn't sure from looking at the agenda. It doesn't identify it as an action item, but it sounds like
our current strategic plan is still in place.
Yes.
So there is no urgency on the motion.
Okay. I wasn't sure because I know Dana, Nicole, you guys were asking for that extension. Hence why I was asking.
And guess what, Jonathan? I wasn't either. So I was looking at Nicole and Judy to give us some help here.
Yeah, I mean, and I would certainly defer to Judy's expertise. The reason why we were requesting approval now is because if the board wasn't supportive of it, we would have to engage in strategic planning starting immediately in order to have a good product to you by September of 2021 for you to vote on. So if you could approve the extension for a year, then that lets us know that we don't have to start that activity right now.
Okay.
I think I might be tempted to go in the back door and ask if there's any objection to the extension. And then if we need something more formal, we can do that at the next board meeting or.
So with those that are here, I'll ask if there are any objections. Okay, not hearing anything, I think that probably at our next committee of the whole, we can have a more in-depth discussion about what that timetable might be, and or at the next board meeting actually vote on an extension if we need to. But it sounds like, at least at this point, I think it's safe to say, I'm not saying take the pressure off getting it done, but certainly start to look at that horizon as being 4 years out. A 4-year horizon versus just 3. Continuing this, I guess, continuing the current strategic plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item up are board committee reports. So we have the Recipient Rights Committee, and I'm on that. So I better do my report. Okay. So at the October 10th, October 1st Recipient Rights meeting. I'm sorry, I'm missaying this. Yes, on the 1st we had a meeting. We met at 4 o'clock. Richard Zemark was the RRAC chair or facilitator. Vicki Suter reported that they took the recommendation to the board for Chuck's removal. The motion by the OCHN board was passed to remove Chuck from the board, from our RACC. We do have some openings, and as you heard tonight, we still have more. We had a presentation on Voting 101. These and other webinars are located on the OCHN website. Your vote counts. So whether you vote at the polls or via absentee ballot, they're important. There are several laws related to ADA that will help facilitate your ability and your right to vote. And these laws date back to 1965. The presentations also covered when to vote and how to complete the absentee ballot, the differences and similarities of 3 different types of voting machines that are used between Oakland County, Macomb County, and Wayne County. And lastly, these webinars covered voting resources as well. Then Jean Vander, she's the manager of Recipient Rights, reported that they were at the end of the fiscal year. They were working on wrapping up any open investigations. That they also attended a recipient rights training with Dana Bridge. And then she provided 2 updates on initiatives. One is the update of SharePoint to streamline the approval and review of reports, and that is wrapping up. And the second initiative is streamlining the background checks, so employment verifications. The idea is to use smart sheets, and this project began a couple of weeks ago. So essentially, when employers hire staff, we do the background check for them. And you would think that that's pretty simple, but it's actually challenging because we have to do that background check before they bring them on, before they're hired. And to do that, that requires the prospective candidate to sign a release to allow the background check. Once they're hired, then other background checks can be performed, and no such release is required. Other activities that happened last month, and it's amazing because we are almost near the end of October now, but in mid-September, there was a skill building set. There was the Recipient Rights virtual conference that the state had. Jean focused on skill building. She said that there was a very interesting keynote speaker, Lena Cisco, who focused on interviewing and analysis. Jean also attended a second session on interviewing via remote or teleconference, so using tools like Zoom. Vicki attended the virtual conference as well, and sessions that she highlighted were how to make your RRAC click. I would guess that that is sort of the how do you inject some sort of chemistry in the process. So her takeaway from that was to bring more data to meetings, which I'm actually very fond of, as you guys know, but also to bring quarterly substantiation investigation reports to our monthly meeting, but on a quarterly basis, so that we could share and discuss those situations, investigations, et cetera, with the committee. And then as well, we in our OCHN use Robert's Rules of Order for the Recipient Rights Advisory Committee. It was suggested that Robert's Rules is a good guideline, but it doesn't need to necessarily be followed for a strictly to have a well-run meeting. And so we do follow those rules pretty nicely, but we do have a pretty good routine as well at the RRAC. A second session that she attended was on interviewing persons with personality disorders, understanding their traits. And as well, they announced that they had a new director for the Recipient Rights Department. So Remy replaces John Stanford, who retired. And then at the beginning of this month, we had the OCHN Go Rights virtual conference that was on October 2nd. Again, it was virtual. It was for a couple of hours in the morning. It's probably a little late now to register, but I'm sure that it was recorded. So if anyone's interested, I'm sure that reach out to Vicki Suter or reach out through us to Vicki. And if it was recorded, we would be able to get you those recordings. We did have a large number of people registered for it. I don't know what the number was. And as well, because it was the start of the new fiscal year, we did not have a wrap up of last fiscal year's site reviews, but we will have that at the November meeting. We also had an appreciation for our outgoing members, Betty and Sylvia. I know they were very nice. I remember working with them. It was very good. They've been on the RAC for 6 years, so they are not eligible to return for another 6 months. But we all were very appreciative of Betty and Sylvia's involvement, their time and their commitment. After that, we went into closed session to interview and vote on recommendations of replacements. Tonight, we all approved Joshua, Harriet, and Drita's nominations to the RAC, and we still have some more. And so our next meeting is going to be next week, Thursday the 5th. Wow, I can't believe that. November 5th already is coming up. And we will try to fill the remaining open spots, but I don't know if we'll have enough applicants. And with that in mind, I would hope if you know someone who is interested in being actively involved with the Recipient Rights Advisory Committee, please pass their names and contact information to either Jean or to Vicki so that we can have them complete an application and so they can be interviewed. All right. That's my report. Melchiah, do you have a report for the CAC?
Unfortunately, I do not. I have to give it next month.
All right, thank you. Eric, was there a meeting and do you have notes from the Oversight Policy Committee?
Jonathan, this is Christine. Eric put a message in the chat.
Hey, Jonathan, this is Dana again.
Yes.
And yes, I think no, I didn't go to the oversight policy meeting. I think he put in there that I did. I don't believe I did though. Let's see. No,
All right.
I did not attend that one.
Okay, I know the Oversight Policy Committee is a quarterly meeting versus the CAC and RRAC that are monthlies. So
Yes, and I attended the CAC meeting, but not the quarterly policy, oversight policy meeting. So oh, you know what? I did today for the very first time. I'm sorry. So I did attend that one. I just didn't see the notes for them. So yes, I was at the oversight policy meeting and I got to meet the policy oversight board members. So that was a great meeting. A lot of detail about use of SUD services and access. A lot of data shared during the meeting. Of course, I don't have that in front of me, so I apologize. I got the meetings confused, but it was a great meeting, and I was only able to participate in half because I had another meeting right after that. So I am sure Eric will present the rest of the notes in the agenda at the next meeting. That's what his chat says.
all right, thank you. And I'm just reading the top of it, and it says he had to leave for another meeting. Yeah. So I appreciate it. All right,
I
well,
apologize.
Dana,
I got it confused.
that's okay. Dana, thank you for the highlights, and we'll look to Eric for his report at the next board meeting.
Sounds good.
The next item on the agenda is the director's report. And Dana, if you have one, please, if you would kindly read it or present it.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody, again. I'm happy to report from my director's report, and you'll see a little change because I wanted to make it more data driven. So one of the things that has remained consistent throughout my career is that as public mental health professional and service delivery is so critical, but community collaboration and partnerships are very essential to the successful delivery of the services we provide. So I was able to confirm that in several conversations by talking to various people throughout the month. First, I want to talk about a meeting we had with the Oakland County Commissioner, Nancy Quarles. It was some very meaningful dialogue, which led us to a larger group of meeting with the Oakland County Executive Office, judicial system representatives, members of the faith-based community, local mayor from Pontiac, as well as OCHN other leadership, which I'll just say is Nicole Lawson. So we had put the minds together, had a lot of insight into what's needed and looking at some of the gaps in the jail diversion, as well as prison release or jail release. So making sure that people are engaged in services. So right now, I don't want to get into the detail. We're still in the planning phases, and actually the county is setting up an RFP so that they can get someone to do a gap analysis. So we are doing our part by doing a sequential intercept model or sequential intercept survey of our system, and I believe it's already been done prior to my coming on board, but we're going to share that information with that group. So it's just a start of a collaborative with the law enforcement community, jail diversion, and what to do in terms of jail release and making sure that people are engaged in services. So we've been approached by Commissioner Quarles to work on this group and actually include some of the members of the community that had not traditionally participated. And so we're looking forward to reporting out some great things about our activities there. I also want to express my heartfelt gratitude and commitment to what we're doing in terms of identifying services needed for people in incarcerated individuals. So we really need to reduce recidivism and promote healthy lifestyles and offer hope to other people. And so one of the focuses on this report, this director's report, is really looking at that data that demonstrates how innovative we have been in making a difference in the lives of people of Oakland County. So as we gather more data and analyze the outcomes, we want to share it to promote transparency, create awareness, and establish trust. And if you know, like I said, during my first month in, I really want to look at how people are accessing our services and improving that access, especially to substance use disorder services, as well as those individuals that are participating or engaged with the justice system. So again, if you look at my report, and if you have any feedback or suggestions or recommendations, I'm happy to hear those. And then I'm not sure if you have it in front of you, but I just want to briefly talk about the justice and substance use services as an example of what we're doing. We do have crisis intervention training, which we're training law enforcement officers or police officers to interact with people who are in a mental health crisis. To date, we have actually trained 780 officers, and dispatch personnel have received this 40-hour comprehensive mental health training. We also have LEARN, which is law enforcement response with naloxone, and that is the overdose prevention medication so that we can prevent death by overdose. Approximately 4,200 naloxone kits have been provided to law enforcement since the program started in May of 2015. So as a result, we have reportedly saved over 700 lives, which is a great accomplishment for our community. We also do pre-booking jail diversion programs as well as mental health court. So we work directly with the 45th District Court in Oak Park, and we have established a mental health court in 2017, and OCHN is a required partner in that collaborative. We also have an adult treatment court, which involves the Oakland County 6th Circuit Adult Treatment Center and the Waterford 51st District Sobriety Court. We also have jail program services. So we partner with the jail, and we actually have mental health professionals that actually serve in the jail when people are incarcerated for screening and identification of services that they would need upon their release. We, of course, have medicated assistant treatment programs, or MAT, and those are throughout the community, but also in the Oakland County Jail. We have the Michigan Department of Corrections, where we're working with them and partnering with substance use services, ensuring that substance use services are provided to individuals on probation or parole. And then we have Oakland Community Corrections. So we're looking at alternatives to incarceration and preventing re-incarceration of individuals. The other things that we're doing include a re-entry to the community transition program. And we actually have numbers of people that we have actually served in this program and the number of referrals. It sort of went down, of course, in the last quarter due to COVID, but we are actively looking at ways to increase that program and the involvement in that. Then we also have RISE, which is a Recovery Information Support and Education Center located in Pontiac, where we know commonly as Common Ground. And we have the Sober Support Unit as well, located as Common Ground, and it's really a jail diversion, and it does reduce emergency hospital visits because individuals can go there and seek substance use treatment. It gives them a safe place to wait until a treatment provider is identified for them. So there are a number of different juvenile justice programs as well, early identification of mental health needs through the juvenile system in Oakland County, juvenile justice coordination, so helping to coordinate the cares or the services needed by young people involved in the criminal justice system, and doing some prevention work to make sure that they don't end up in the adult system. And then there's the Children's Substance Use Disorder Services that are also funded at Children's Village. So the other thing that I added this month, and I wanted to make sure that you had a full look at the activities and how I plan to, going forward, align them with the goals and objectives identified with this board and my role. And then looking at what the mission and vision and value statement says about the organization, and really identifying those things that are measurable. And part of doing that tonight was actually talking about the strategic plan and how we can extend the plan and making it more meaningful to the people we serve. More importantly, having their involvement and engagement in the development of what our strategic plan and goals and objectives are to be. So the other thing that I am tying into my report is a report on employee morale. So just recently in the past week, we facilitated a trust index survey. So we want to collect and analyze information pertaining to staff feedback and their experiences as working at Oakland OCHN. So surprisingly, I think we distributed on last Tuesday, and we've had over 80 people respond already, and that's almost half of the workforce here at OCHN. So we're getting good return on that request to complete the survey, and it will be due back, and we're hoping to get more people respond by November 4th when it will stop being available to staff. We also have scheduled, and I have scheduled multiple team meetings. So I've been meeting with each and every department at OCHN, which is really great because I can't meet everybody face to face, but I can see their faces through the virtual environment. So I've gotten some great feedback and really gotten to know more than just what a department does, but getting to know the individuals that work in that department. And I have to tell you, and this is off my report, but it really feels good to be the leader of an organization where people are smiling when they talk about the work that they do. It shows the level of commitment that they have to the people we serve. So that's really been a great thing for me being new to this role. So we also host weekly staff meetings, and I hope you have heard about them because I'm just benefiting from what the previous chiefs, well, the chiefs, Nicole, Anya, and Diana set up of What's Up Wednesday. So it's a fun way for me to update the team, but also have the various initiatives that we're working on and have the whole staff get involved and engaged in it. So it's a fun meeting, a little lighthearted, but it also talks about the importance of the culture of the workforce and why they're so important to everything that we do. And I also meet, of course, with the chiefs, the CFO, the CIO, and the COO every day just about. And then on a bi-weekly or every other week, I meet with the executive leadership team, which includes Christine Burke, our Director of Communications, Edna White, Human Resources, and Recipient Rights, Vicki Suter, who I could not forget, because every meeting that involves people we serve, I see Vicki's face, and they love it. The other thing that we are working on is provider collaboration. And if I'm going too fast, please stop me. But I'm trying to get through my report, and hopefully you had a chance to review it. But provider collaboration really does give me an opportunity to meet with the individual CEOs and the individual CEOs of the provider agencies. So I've met with, I think, about probably all of them so far. Now I'm working on the SUD providers as well as some of the vocational providers. So I met them in more of a group setting, but I really want to have the opportunity to meet with them individually. So I also spoke at the 2020 Provider Appreciation Virtual event. A lot of great feedback there. I also attended a quarterly specialized residential and vocational provider meeting where we talked about operational things that they could do and some of the challenges. I think they were brought up during the public comment, the ones that Christine actually read off to us. And so we had an opportunity to really talk about some of those concerns. I also attend monthly meetings specifically to address some of the concerns with specialized residential and vocational providers with the state as well. The other collaborative includes me attending the CAC, as well as the Recipient Rights Advisory Council. I had planned to go to the strategic planning group, but I did not or was not able to meet that meeting due to a conflict in my schedule. I also participated in, we looked at Your Voice, Your Value Conference and Work Group Appreciation event. So those are two big events that really highlighted the volunteers that work in our system, as well as the folks that work at OCHN and all that they bring to the organization. Oh, let's see, what else? Services and support. Again, meeting with the chiefs on a regular basis, doing some troubleshooting when things come to our attention. And then really, as Nicole talked about, as well as Anya, being very, very proactive in terms of planning out activities and things that we need to accomplish, and then how we work with the state and then bring the information to our team. The other thing that we have done is actually, this was started prior to me coming, which works out really good, is meeting with supervisors and managers in an innovation operations team meeting each week. So it gives them an opportunity to really look at how things are going in each department, and then also looking at the annual department plans so that department directors as well as managers have an opportunity to tie their annual plans, their departmental plans, to the strategic plan and to making sure that the NCQA areas are covered in those plans. In terms of financial management, I think you heard how we're doing with that, and working with Anya weekly to really get a grasp of how we're performing in terms of things that we want to put in place. We all know that the direct care workers got a $2 increase, and some of the other PHPs are talking about how they can continue with that. The good thing about that, just today, the state did talk about how they're really pushing and advocating for that $2 increase to continue beyond December. So that may be something that Anya and I are able to bring back to you and ask for your feedback and approval on if we're going to go in that direction. Right now, we don't have enough information to make that decision or that recommendation, but our hope would be that we're able to secure the $2 increase for a longer period of time. But the other piece of it, I hope you all can hear me better now. The other piece of that is just finding new and unique ways to work with direct care professionals so that they are able to get certification and additional training that will make their work pay at a higher rate. I think we know the value they bring to our system and the people they care for is very important, but the level of pay they receive doesn't match their value to us and the people we serve. Other things I wanted to talk about have to do with, let's see, where do I want to highlight? Really collaborating with this board and making sure that, congratulations, Jonathan, our new board chair, and I work very closely together to meet the goals and objectives set forth for the organization. Also looking at really developing a report that's meaningful to this board so that you're looking at outcomes and data and not just hearing a story. The stories are very important, but we need to be able to support what we're doing with data and analyzing that data. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're sought after by the state and other collaboratives that are presented to us are because we are able to collect data and report on our progress. So I like to say I have the best CEO, CIO, and COO in the state. So it's really coming true. You know, you say nice things when you first start, but these things are very true. And I do appreciate all the work from not just the chiefs, but the leadership directors and managers are great. And so in looking at the team, I do want to enhance what we have on our team. And so if you'll see where we've taken the medical director role and expanded that to make a chief medical officer. And then we also want to look at making that role full-time. I think as we work with the Medicaid health plans and we work with our system and we really try to push our vision forward in terms of service and integrated care, we really have to have a chief medical officer that can represent OCHN and answer some of the tough clinical questions, especially when you look at what we're doing with the certified community behavioral health clinics, as well as the behavioral health homes and the opiate homes and other pilot programs that are coming our way. We really do need that level of expertise at the table with us as we're talking to the state. These new programs, the ones that Judy is really referring to, really does require us to have that level of medical director or chief medical officer on our team. The other thing that I looked at in terms of being here for 3 months now, believe it or not, it's gone pretty fast, looking at legal counsel. And one of the things that concerns me is that I see some hesitancy when we seek out our legal counsel because of the cost. The cost is really high. So one of the things that I will be looking at is bringing on a general counsel on our team that would be able to address some of the contractual issues, some of the other areas that we don't really have in-house expertise. So if you think about, in no way takes away from the team, the contract team, the quality team, and I would be remiss if I talk about Marquita Macy and her amazing skills and what she brings to this organization. But I do think we need to step up and really have our own legal counsel that we can rely on, that is really somebody that is going to represent this organization and be readily available to us, the OCHN staff, as well as our board. I think it'll be important when we're meeting on our contract and other PHPs and other regions have their legal representatives there at the table, and we are not represented. So we don't have anybody to speak in terms of a legal issue on our behalf. So those are just a few of the things that we're talking about. And just to really tie it in, when we talk with the director of MDHHS, the deputy director, Alan Jensen, he really has focused on the new boilerplate language of 294. And so that language is significant because we, the team at OCHN played a big role in actually drafting and documenting the 294 language. So when we go forward to work with the state and other entities, we want to make sure that we have representation with us so that we are getting a fair deal and we are able to do the things that we know we need to do for the people we serve. So the other thing in terms of crisis management, we are looking at ways to look with improving what Common Ground does, improving our crisis vendor services. And actually, the other piece of it is that we are working closely with the state again in terms of what they're doing with the MyCal, which is the crisis assessment line or crisis access line that the state is putting over to be a statewide crisis line. So they've asked for us to participate in the development and implementation of that. And so those are the exciting things, just some of them, the things that we're doing here at OCHN. With that, I'll stop this long report and open it up. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And I understand from my colleagues that I was making a lot of noise, so I apologize. Hopefully you heard everything.
I think we did.
Okay.
Any questions from anyone? We're a pretty quiet group tonight, I guess.
I know.
Not a question, just a comment, if I may. I just want to reemphasize the earlier comment I made, Dana. I really appreciate the thoroughness and the level of detail that you're giving in the reports that you're doing. It's making a lot easier for us to know what's going on in the organization, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your feedback, and I'm open to suggestions and recommendations. I really want to get to the point, Melchiah and others, where it's not reading from a piece of paper, that you can actually see the vision that we have and it's coming to fruition. So now it's like collecting a lot of baseline and historical information so that you can see where we are and where we're going. So hopefully that reporting will get better and better, if that is a word.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments for Dana? All right. Thank you so much, Dana. I appreciate it. I'm so glad we brought you on. I saw you as our quote unquote Moses to get us the vision to the promised land, you know. So
those are big shoes, but thank you. I will do my very best, Jonathan, I promise.
And we won't have 40 years to wander through the desert.
Oh, no. We have too much energy on our team. I don't think they would let us mosey along.
Yeah. Okay. So next is public comment. This is the second time for members of the public to make comment. Do we have anyone that wants to make comment? Christine, do we have anyone?
We did not receive any public comment in the chat or online. I'm not sure if there's anyone who's joined the meeting who wants to make public comment. If they do, they can raise their hand and unmute their mic.
All right, doesn't sound like there's going to be any further public comment. So thank you. How about board member comment? Victoria, can you go through who we have that's in attendance, and we'll see if there's any comments?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let's start with Dr. Guadalupe.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to thank all of you for the nomination and confirmation of being the vice chair for the board. I appreciate it. It's exciting role. So thank you for that. For those listening with the election coming up, just making sure that everyone gets out, if they haven't done absentee ballot, to get out and vote. And that we keep in mind, again, as we heard in our stories that inspire hope, that this is Down Syndrome Awareness Month, as well as, I know at my place of employment, we celebrate Disability Awareness Month this month, and also Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So as a breast cancer survivor, all of those that women that should be going out and getting checked, please do so. So thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Ms. Mamie Dyer.
Thank you to all of the presentations today. As always, really good information. And just kind of repeating what has been said by Sarah, everybody make sure to please go out and vote, but also stay safe. There are a lot of resources out there for people who are providing food and things like that for people who have to wait in lines for a really long time. So definitely take advantage of that. And just with the rising numbers of COVID cases, continuing to urge everybody to please stay safe. I know the holidays are just around the corner and it's going to be hard to continue to stay isolated, but you know, just making sure that everybody does continue to make good decisions and stay safe. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Furman.
I'd just like to say thank you to all the presenters tonight, and thank you for the nomination for board secretary, as well as congratulations to everyone who accepted positions tonight. And once again, I'd like to thank Judy for her leadership as board chair over the last 2 years. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Dr. Taub.
Congratulations to all the new board officers and committee officers. And just want to tell if anybody's worried, probably not. I have not lost interest in OCHN. I'm just on hold till Tuesday, and well, maybe we'll have the results of the election by Friday. So everybody be safe. Wear your mask. It does protect other people. Bye.
Thank you. Ms. Newman.
I just want to congratulate the new slate of board members, board leaders. This is going to be an interesting year because this has been the most new people that we've ever had to deal with since I've been on the board. So it's bringing new energy, it's bringing new ideas. Congratulations to each and every one. And I look forward to working with everyone in the coming year. I appreciate, again, all of the hard work of the staff, how they strive to bring presentations to us that enlighten us and help to make our job easier. It was a special pleasure to hear Miss Victoria's voice. I've been missing her. Sheila does an excellent job, but Victoria did that for many years, and I appreciate her so much. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Judy for her years of service and leadership. She hasn't gone anywhere yet, but it's a void that's going to be really difficult to fill. So I just want to, again, thank you, Judy, for your leadership and your guidance, and wish everyone a good night and be safe.
Thank you. Mrs. Summers.
I'd like to add my congratulations to everyone who accepted and was elected to a leadership role on our board. I really do look forward to the journey into the next fiscal year. It's going to be interesting, and I hope in the most positive way possible. I would add my wishes for everyone to stay safe and stay well, and please, 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 if you haven't voted, please make a plan to vote. Good night.
Thank you. And lastly, Mr. Lamson.
Thank you. I want to take a minute and thank the board for their support in electing me as the chair. I appreciate it. I will be fair. I will be impartial. I will encourage all of you and I will work to provide that environment as Judy has, so that you can weigh in, provide your insight, and help guide us. You know, I know we've all read the mental health code to some extent. We know that it defines what we do and how we do it, but it also has some expectations that we are to provide that community input to OCHN's organization. So as your chair, I'm going to work to make sure that we do that and we help evolve this organization and keep it relative, keep it not just relative, keep it in line with what the people we serve expect us to be, to help them help themselves, but as well that we also influence those at the state, influence those and become tighter and closer with those across the state. That cross-state advocacy, that friendship is going to be really key. So I'm glad we have Dana on board. I look to you, Judy. I look to you, Melkai. I look to the board members, new and old. So whether you're Steve or you're Rena and you've been on the board or you've just gotten involved with the board, to help guide me, to help me be the best that I can be, to help the board provide that direction and support to the rest of the organization. So thank you, everyone. Be healthy, be safe. If there's no other comments or questions, this meeting is adjourned.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Night.
Good night. Thank you.